Hi, folks. I just got done reading an article in the October 10th, 16th edition of the Seattle Weekly. It's entitled The 10 Most Corrupt Tax Loopholes by Chris Parker. Closing these loopholes is one of the ways that Romney tells us he is going to balance the budget. By closing these loopholes, he'll be able to raise more revenue. In looking at these 10 different loopholes, the majority of them favor Republican interests, and I have serious doubts that anything will be done about any of them. So let's go take them one at a time. I've sort of paraphrased the article, tried to narrow it down to its essence, so this thing won't take 2 hours. But here we go. Loophole number one. A corporation operating in the U.S. Can create a dummy company in a foreign low-tax country and transfer profits from the U.S. branch of the company to the foreign branch. The corporation pays no taxes in the USA, where it is actually doing business, and pays all its taxes in some low-rent place like Ireland. A prime example is Apple, which this hurts me deeply because I'm actually making this on an Apple computer. I'm a big fan of the company, but Apple has an Irish subsidiary, and by transferring the profits it makes here in the U.S. to this Irish subsidiary that does nothing except act as a tax haven, avoids paying literally billions of dollars in U.S. taxes. Number two. In the 1970s, capital gains were taxed at a higher rate than wage income, recognizing the fact that it's a lot harder to dig a ditch than it is to own shares in a company that digs ditches. Ever since the Reagan administration, however, there has been successful erosion of this, so that now, at the most extreme end of it under the Bush administration, capital gains are now taxed lower than it's lower than any income tax bracket. The theory of that was, another one of these Republican economic theories, was that if you lower capital gains taxes, more people will invest, more jobs will be created, more companies will be founded, etc., etc. The only problem is the actual economic data doesn't support any of this. All that has happened by lowering the tax rate on capital gains is it's handed a huge tax benefit to people like Romney and Warren Buffett, people who make their money by moving paper around, investment bankers, financiers. These people, they don't actually create anything. All they're doing is moving promises to pay back and forth and getting a fee for doing it. Efforts were made in the legislation to require people who are claiming capital gains tax benefits to prove that they were actually investing in something. These efforts were stalled in committee by Representative Dave Camp, a Republican from Michigan. Maybe it's just coincidence, but old Dave has received, seems like $663,916 in campaign contributions from the financial industry since being elected to Congress. Go figure. 6 years ago, legislators from Tennessee, Kentucky, and Texas, all Republican places, pushed through a bill allowing songwriters to avoid paying income tax and allow them to sell publishing rights at capital gains tax rates. This law benefited the right-leaning, America-loving, family values-having country music business. No other artistic endeavor is so blessed. But then, most other artistic endeavors are run by a bunch of queers. So, and we all know that. So why would you want to encourage that sort of thing? Number 4, corporations are allowed to give away stock options to their employees. At the time of the issuance of these options, the cost to the company is essentially nothing. It's just saying that at some future date, if the price goes up on our stock, you can buy it at this reduced rate. It's just a promise, but it doesn't cost them a thing. Then, years later, when the employee actually negotiates this option and makes some money, the company is then allowed to take as a tax deduction the difference between the near zero value of the original option and the price at which the option was utilized. This has allowed a company like Facebook to claim a $7 billion tax write-off as a result of its option largesse, giving people options. And as a result of that write-off, they will actually receive a $500 million tax refund from the federal government in 2013. Doesn't that sound special? Number 5. A yacht is considered a home. 3% of the U.S. boat owners qualify for a mortgage deduction on their yacht. Efforts to repeal this loophole were also held in committee by good Republican camp. He doesn't want those, those big ticket boat owners to have to pay anything more than, the average guy in his two-bedroom track house. Anyway, number 6, the 5 biggest oil companies receive $20 billion a year in tax breaks. When oil was selling at under $55 a barrel, maybe this made some sense. The idea was to reimburse them for the risk of drilling dry wells. Well, that's all changed. Oil is now selling for $100 a barrel. Oil companies are all posting record profits year in and year out. Last year it was over $137 billion for the 5 major U.S. Oil companies. And, maybe it's just time to cut these corporate welfare queens off, get them off the American taxpayers' tits. They're driving around, they're eating them crab legs at American taxpayers' expense. Number 7, U.S. tax code allows companies to treat all expenses involved in shipping a U.S. job to another country as a business expense. Therefore, the price of shipping a factory from Illinois to China gets deducted from the profits of the company, and they don't have to pay taxes on it. The Senate Democrats actually introduced a bill called the Bring Jobs Home Act, which would have killed this loophole and offered a 20% tax credit to companies that bring jobs back to the United States. But the Republicans in the Senate filibustered it to death. Number 8, legal damages leveled against a corporation are treated as a business expense and are thus tax deductible. Only in the business world are you allowed to take a tax break for illegal behavior. An effort was made by Senator Patrick Leahy, a Democrat from Vermont, to close this loophole with the Protecting American Taxpayers from Misconduct Act. That bill never made it out of committee. Is this all starting to sound familiar to you? Number 9, Delaware is the home of more corporations than there are people living in Delaware, and this is because Delaware has hardly any corporate tax and very little corporate regulation. There's not much a corporation could do wrong in Delaware and even get its hand slapped. It's so loosey-goosey there that the Cayman Islands actually complain about how loose and corrupt Delaware is. Again, this is a whole issue of a company doing business in the rest of the United States, opens an office in Delaware, says it's a Delaware corporation, ships its profits back to Delaware, avoids state taxes. Number 10, an out-of-work electrician has to pay income tax on his unemployment check. A corporation, on the other hand, which is offered hundreds of millions of dollars in public money, either tax breaks, improvements to be made, new highways to be built to their factory, as an incentive to get a corporation to locate their business in a particular state. That corporation doesn't have to pay any tax on that public welfare. Hits very close to home here in Seattle. The basketball team, the Sonics, were sold to a guy. And then when someplace down in Oklahoma, they offered him a new stadium and this and that and something else, several $100 million in benefits to move down there. Boom, he was gone in a minute. And all that money that the people of Oklahoma gave him, he didn't have to pay taxes on any of it. Well, there you have it, folks. What do you think? Personally, I doubt very much if any of these loopholes are ever going to be closed. If balancing the budget depends on closing these loopholes, we're not going to have a balanced budget. Simple as that. There is too much money involved. The people who will be hurt by closing these loopholes have too many lobbyists and too much influence in Congress. Brown paper sacks of money are flowing back and forth furiously. If Romney gets elected, there's even less chance of anything happening on this front. Most of these loopholes benefit big money Republican contributors. These are the people that are paying to put Romney in the presidency. He is not going to be able to turn around and bite the hand that feeds him. It's so much easier to take money away from poor people, insane people, old people. They don't have They don't have any political power. They don't have lobbyists. It's hard to even get them to vote. They're too busy trying to survive. So what you'll see is slashing budgets, slashing entitlements, slashing all kinds of things that benefit poor, weak people. And the big boys will just keep slopping it up at the trough, oink, 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 as fast as they can go. Honestly, I think after 4 years of Romney administration, we will probably have a larger deficit than we do now. I don't see anything in his policies that are going to change anything. So, good luck. Thanks a lot for watching.